Welcome to Beyond the Session, a series where I sit down with the people that I have worked with to talk about what they have experienced after their reading. We talk about the moments, the realizations, and the shifts that have continued to unfold since their session has ended. Hi, I'm Jerica. I'm a professional psychic medium, and today I am joined by Joanne. When I read for her, I actually read for her and her husband, Francisco, and we connected with their baby Luka. Luka was only 25 weeks and 6 days old, and unfortunately, Luka was not the only baby they had lost. They had experienced many miscarriages before Luka as well. However, Luka was an incredible angel and has been an incredible angel throughout their journey. What came through during their sessions was deeply tender and incredibly meaningful. Even as a spirit, as a young baby spirit, Luka really showed that he is a guardian angel for his parents and that love really never leaves us, even if you don't get a whole lot of time with your loved ones. I'll let Joanne share her story, but my hope is that anyone else out there who has experienced infant loss or miscarriages, I hope you find inspiration in Joanne's story, and I hope you realize and you know that your babies are also with you as well. I'm truly sorry for your loss. And if you feel called to work with me, I do have private one-on-one sessions. Check out the description below. I would absolutely love to read for you and connect you with your loved one. Let's go ahead and get into Joanne's story. All right. So, welcome, Joanne. Thank you so much for being here to this lovely, lovely interview. I want to start off just by asking kind of who you are, where you found me, and kind of how you came in contact with me, how you got to TC Miss Jerica.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. You know, man, who am I? So, my name is Joanne, and I live in Texas, and I travel a lot for work, and I go all over the world. And I found you through TikTok, and at first, I was a little nervous because I have been through some other folks and I've heard stories from like my family regarding spirits, and I didn't really know what I truly believed at first. And my husband and I, we went through a significant loss this year with the loss of our son, Luka, who was only 6 days old when he passed away. And we were just in a period of we needed some type of hope, and we were looking for hopefulness. And what did that look like for us? We went through grief clinics and grief seminars and workshops. And even then, we still had this question of where is our son? And does he know how much we love him? And does he know what happened and why this happened to him? And from there, we started looking, for answers, and that's when we somewhat stumbled across your lives on TikTok, and we came to understand even after, like, before our first session, after our first session, and we've had a few other sessions with you as well. From that time frame, we've had so many answers, and I think our beliefs and what we truly understand to our core has changed dramatically, as to questions to now we're more at ease and at peace.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. I love that. That makes me so happy for you guys. I love that. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. I wanted to also kind of ask, talking about your sessions, what experiences have you had with me? I know you mentioned a couple sessions, but I just wanted to kind of get your perspective and kind of what experiences you had just for the people watching, so they know kind of how I actually read for you.
Yeah, so my husband and I have had two sessions together, which were hour-long sessions. And then we also did, I believe it's been like two like live short sessions with you. And then I've had a personal session just by myself with you. And then from there, I've also taken some of your other courses, which I've done also like live or group events with you. I've been into which have been, I during those sessions, I should say, I was never read for, but just the experience seeing other people read for, and what their experience was and who came through for them was just extraordinary.
Yeah.
And then also, uh, your current classes that you're offering, about just reflection and my personal self. I've also attended some of those.
Cool, very cool. That's so awesome. Yes, I love to hear it. And the group Zooms are super, super awesome. And thank you for being a part of those other classes and courses and stuff. I'm super excited for those. So, oh, that's awesome. Okay, so I guess you kind of went over this a little bit, kind of where your personal journey started. But if you want to share a little bit more about that, you can. You kind of talked about how you and your husband lost Luca, and that's kind of where things started for you. And I guess you kind of also talked about who we connected with, which is your son. But if you want to share a little bit more about that, you can too, before we get more into the deeper questions. That's totally cool.
Yeah, sure. So we have, connected with my son primarily, but we've also connected with other folks, especially on my husband's side. We've connected with one of his really good friends that passed away recently. But then also on my side, we've connected with like a grandmother figure who I'm pretty sure I know who it is. Um, but just, I mean, there's so many of them on that side that have similar stories and different things. But because of the connection with my mom, um, I'm pretty sure it's my mom's aunt that we connected with.
Mm,
And it just like blew me away because she's connecting with me, but confirming stuff that happened to my mom. And at first, when I spoke to my mom about it, I mean, she was just like blown away. She's like, I don't know what that means. And then she like calls me up in the middle of the night and was like, I know what this is. Like, I broke this angel in my garden. And so there is just the connection is just so unreal when you really think about what's coming up. Another example of that is my husband. He works construction, he was by himself working. I just knew he was working at a hospital, but he was working in the basement of that hospital. And our son knew that. And I
hmm
had no clue at all. Um, and our son has confirmed things that like no other person would have known outside of my husband and I. And sometimes even like just one of us would have known and not the other. Most recently, my son brought up the fact that like I went for an ultrasound and no one knew that. Not even like my sister, no one knew that. And the fact that he gave us that validation of like he's with us and he knows what's happening, he knows what we're going through, is just so precious. And even with other folks that have came through, they've known stuff that like maybe we didn't understand correctly at first, but as we continued searching and looking and thinking about that topic, it came to light like exactly what they meant
Yeah, that's
and
so
just the
beautiful.
relation.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh,
I love your story so much, and I think about it often. I think about Luca often. I'm literally trying to refrain from yawning right now because Luca's such a strong spirit. Those of you watching, he's such a strong spirit. I really wanted to highlight your story too because of Luca and because he's a baby and he was a baby, and so many women have lost babies and have
yeah.
gone through very similar stories to you. And so I think a lot of people will really resonate with your story and get a lot of healing from your story even if they don't end up getting a session themselves or whatever. So I'm really, really grateful that you're here sharing this with all of us because I know it's been a journey for you and your husband. And so I'm trying not to yawn, but he's just always here.
Yeah,
So
I
the
think it's
energy.
crazy. Like, he was a baby. We only had him for 6 days. He came early and he was 25 weeks old technically when we gave birth to him. And what's even more fascinating, I think, with this situation, I know a lot of people ask you, like, what if they don't speak English and you don't speak a different language? So where does that come through? But I mean, my husband would speak to Luca in Spanish, and he read a book to him in Spanish. And that really always just sticks with me is that in our very first session, you brought up the book that we read to him in Spanish before he was even born. And that was fantastic. Like that was just so much validation. Like he was listening to us while he was still in the womb. Like he understood we read him that book. And it was in Spanish too.
Yeah, that was so cool. That was so cool. I absolutely love that, the way that came through. That was so exciting. I love how and I remember feeling like Spanish behind it because he was showing me the book. What was the book's name again? I forgot.
Oh, the
Over
moon.
the moon book. Yeah, it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, like over the moon or something like this, that moon book. I
Yeah,
was
like love
seeing.
you to the moon and back is what it's.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. That one's super, super awesome. I remember seeing it and then I remember just like hearing like speaking in Spanish in the background, but I wasn't quite sure. So that's very interesting. I love that. Well, thank you so much, Joanne. That's awesome. Okay. So let's get into these kind of deeper questions here, just to get more of your story because we love to hear it. So, what was happening in your life before your first session with me?
So I really think that my husband and I were just in this state of loss where we didn't know. We felt like this important person in our life was just taken away with no answers. And we felt responsible for that. We don't know how, because really it wasn't our fault that this happened. And we just were looking for something to connect us with our son even more. And he even mentioned, I think during one of our sessions, Luka did, that he was our miracle baby. And that's true. That's what we would call him. And so
Mm-hmm.
we're just looking for that other miracle. Like, how else could we connect with him? And, like I said, we went through a lot of grief groups that dealt with losing children. And that was the process we were in as we were somewhat finding you and finding that we could communicate with him and that he is around us and his spirit is here with us all the time.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Oh, I love that, friend. Oh, I wish I could give you a hug. Oh, that's so sweet. I am so happy that we cross paths. And I truly believe that your loved ones really do lead you to a medium, or they just lead you to spaces that are really going to help you heal. So, not to say that connecting, going through the grief counseling and connecting that way isn't helpful, because I definitely believe you were led that way too. And that is very helpful for people along their journey. But I do believe that mediumship just brings another level of comfort because it's it's great to have the grief counseling to help your body and to help you, your humanness kind of understand what you're going through so you can process it. But it's one thing to be able to actually hear from your loved one and actually hear them validating and proving, things that are happening in your life. That really brings another level of comfort. So I really love that. And I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Um, Okay, so I guess some of these questions kind of go kind of hand in hand. You're kind of answering them as you go, but I'm still going to ask them just to kind
Yeah.
of get more insight. So, what made you feel called to book? Anything deeper than kind of what you've explained, or anything else you want to kind of touch on with that?
My husband and I are very spiritual just in general. And so we were always talking to Luca. We're like, Luca, we don't know where you are at, but we know that you are here with us, like in some way and form. And we carry him around with us, his ashes around with us. And so we said, like, Luca, like, how can we contact you? Like, what, show us a sign of what we could do. Like, uh, and at one point it's that we knew, like when we saw two birds together, that was him showing us like he was there with us.
Mm-hmm.
And then all of a sudden I just keep seeing mediums on my TikTok feed, my For You page. And then all of a sudden, like, some you could tell, I mean, maybe they're not in it for the right reason, just like any job, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but then like we started recognizing, like, oh, this is like, these are like some of the same people that we're seeing consistently. And then there's just one point where I was like, look, I really think this is the real deal here. This is not just someone trying to steal our money. Like, I do believe, like, just from seeing what you've done for other folks and watching your videos and watching your lives, I was like, okay. So at first, I probably watched you for a good like 3 months before I even made contact,
Mm-hmm.
um, or I even looked at your prices or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then I told my husband, like, this, it was like like a holiday weekend, I believe. So we did it on Friday, our first session, and I told my husband, like, oh, I have a surprise for you. And he had no clue what we're walking in. I don't know if I would advise that for everyone. Um, but he was just blown away. And so that's really how we started connecting. I feel like with mediumship and with you personally is like just watching your content, watching the success of other sessions and groups that you've done. And we felt drawn to that. And just your energy, I think, is very welcoming and very positive for most people.
Yeah, thank you. That's very nice. I appreciate that. And I also want to again thank you for trusting me and allowing me to, be a part of such a vulnerable journey. It's really, really awesome because you didn't just get one session. You've been coming back and, I've gotten to know you and that's why you're here today. So that's super, super exciting. And I also want to say that Francisco was freaking awesome during the first session. His energy is just so sweet to me. I don't know what it is about him, but he just feels like a little teddy bear to me. I loved it so much. But that is super awesome. I wanted to respond to how you were just talking about how you watch for a good 3 months beforehand, which I think is a really good point because there's a few things with mediumship sessions in general. One, of course, you want to make sure that you go to a person that you trust, but also you want to make sure that you're ready, and because they do bring up a lot of feelings, even though they're very healing. So I think it's really good that you took your time to really sit with it and make sure you felt comfortable and safe enough to go forward with it. I think that's a really big thing that some people do miss. Some people kind of maybe rush into it. So I think that's a really good point that you brought up. So thank you for saying that. That's awesome. I love that. Now you've had a few sessions, but I wanted to ask what stood out to you most during your sessions. What was kind of like the biggest things for you that's really stuck with you?
So, some of the biggest things were things that I feel like no one would have known. Like, there's no way for anyone to just like Google this information and or even guess this information, uh, where they have just stuck with us. Like, I can't believe Luka was with me during this time. Like, for example, like in my last session one on one with you, which was my first session, like probably one on one with you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like there was like something wrong with my car, and I was like, no one really knew that. Like, I didn't want to tell Francisco because I didn't want him to be like, I told you something's wrong with your car. Um, and so I'm like, oh, I better just keep an eye on it and figure it out. I was leaving for a trip that day, and you're like, Joanne, drive in the slow lane, be cautious. Something's wrong with your car. Don't know if it's your tires, like you're saying, something else is going. Luca's telling you to be careful. And I pull up at the Bucky's, and a lady comes over to me and she's like, hey, something's wrong with your car. It's leaking a ton of fluid. And I never stop at the gas station before going on my trip. And I always kick myself afterwards because I'm like, you should have stopped before you went on the trip because now it's like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night, and you just traveled for like 17 hours. You want to just go home.
Yeah.
And so this time I was like, no, I want to stop. And that lady came up. She told me about the leakage. And I just looked in awe, like, and I told her, I was like, I was expecting something. And she just looked at me so crazy, like I had no clue. Um, and that was really like, I was like, thank you, Luca, for telling me because I wouldn't have stopped. And
Yeah.
so moments like that, uh, maybe not a warning. I don't think that is particularly what this is, but just like,
Mm-hmm.
checking in with yourself spiritually and also trusting what your spirits have to say because there is a point to it. And so I know there's other things that have been said to me, or just examples of like verification of, hey, my spirits are actually with me throughout the day. And I should, just talk to them for comfort. And I think those are the items that stick with me from every session. And every session, I'm just in awe with, oh my goodness, there's no way that Jerica can be telling me this right now. There's no way that anyone would know this.
Yeah.
And so I really like those aspects of mediumship.
Yeah, that's super cool. That's my favorite thing too. I mean, there's a lot of favorites. I always say that I have so many favorites with mediumship, but I think that's so special. The car situation was nuts. When I received your email, I was like, holy crap, because sometimes spirits they show me things and I'm just like, I don't understand what this means, but I know it's important because I kept seeing so clearly you driving in the slow lane and needing to pull over, and it was very, very clear to me. And so in those moments, I have to trust what spirits are telling me. And the fact that it showed up in your life just hours later is just insanity to me. That's so crazy. And I love that they came through with um And I agree, it's not necessarily a warning. It's just more of here's something to pay attention to. It is a little prediction and it's a little thing to look out for. And it's that's what they're there for, is to guide you. You mentioned earlier a lot of people, maybe you're scared of spirits, or even you grew up being taught, be hesitant of spirits and stuff like that. And so some people may take that as, oh my God, she predicted that, or she did that, or something weird happened there. But no, this is just your loved ones saying, hey, I'm guiding you and I'm watching over you and I need you to look out for that. And so I really
Yeah.
feel like what you experience with the car is absolutely a testimonial of that. It's very freaking cool. And I wanted to kind of talk about, if you don't mind, your the ultrasound situation, because um, Joanne just kind of gave everybody watching a little bit of a background. So she had the car session with me. She had the one-on-one session. The car situation happened, and then a few weeks later, she got a live reading with me. And right away, Luka comes through and starts talking about this ultrasound and how she was getting an ultrasound. And if you don't mind, Joanne, I kind of want to ask more about that and kind of talk about that, because that was really beautiful. And that's something that has stuck with me ever since then.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think, you know, I I went to that day, I went to my doctor. It's a 2-hour drive to my doctor's, and I spoke to Luca on my way there. I'm like, I really want this to go positively, but if there's another plan, you know, like I trust that, my life is still going to be good and I still have you, and there's a spirit around me all the time, your spirit. And I go to my appointment, and that ultrasound appointment, like, pretty much just stopped me in my tracks, because what our plan was to move forward with another embryo transfer. So Luca was actually an embryo transfer. We did IVF with him. And I've had a long journey of infertility because of PCOS and a bunch of different things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, we've had 5 embryos, which not a lot of people are that lucky, and Luca was the second embryo we tried. So we had 3 more embryos, and our goal was, okay, well, let's go back and see what we can do. And when I went back, that ultrasound that day, the the fertility specialist was like, Joanne, I don't know if this is going to happen like we planned. There's no way. Um, and that was not what should have happened during that time. And so I was really taken back by it. And I'm like, okay, well, we're going to have to do a different plan. Um, and so there's a lot of different options that we can move forward with. But then I spoke with Luca on the way back, just in my car, just probably people looking at me like I'm just talking to myself in my car.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and then that night I was like, oh, okay, well, I'm just doing laundry. I'm going to just hop on to TikTok. And that night you're happening to give live readings during TikTok, which I know is not typically your norm. So I was like,
Mm-hmm.
like, this is interesting. And I was late hopping on the live, and I was like, I wonder if there's still a spot open. So I went in, and of course there was. And then what do you bring up? The ultrasound. And I was like, there's no way. Like, the only people that knew I was going to this ultrasound today was Francisco and the hospital that I went to
Mm-hmm.
and the doctor. Like,
Mm-hmm.
those are the only people. And no one else knew what was discussed during that time. No one knew that I was in a situation where I felt hopeless. And
Mm-hmm.
here comes Luca talking about the ultrasound, giving me hope that, hey, this might not be the best situation at this moment in time, but it's going to change. Like,
Yeah.
there's other options. And like, I know you're not a fertility or pregnancy medium, but we truly believe, especially based off of like what Luca has said in the past, that we know that we're probably going to have a little girl. How we're going to have that little girl, we don't know. But
Mm-hmm.
we do know that that's in our future somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
And so for us, that's just so special that, like, we have that. And maybe in 2 years, I'm going to come and message you and say, Jerica, guess what? We have a baby girl.
Oh, I will cry. I will cry with you. I'm not kidding. That makes me want to cry right now. I will cry with you because that'll be so freaking special. I'll be so happy for you guys. And I want to mention too, like, thank you first of all. Thank you so much for all sharing all of that, because I was equally blown away that he was mentioning ultrasound. I'm like, oh, again, something that was brought up literally same day. Like
Yeah,
that's insane. You can't pull that out of anywhere. That's so cool. And I wanted to talk about too, it was crazy because again, the previous session that you had with me before this live reading, the one where they talked to you about your car, Luca
yeah,
was also mentioning maybe
yeah,
you not being able to have another baby for
yeah,
like you actually carrying the baby, but somebody else may carry the baby for you, or it's going to happen a different way. And so it's just crazy that then the next reading you get with me that same day, you go get your ultrasound, you get this news that that you didn't necessarily want, and then he comes through again. I'm like, what is happening? That is so crazy. So
yeah,
yeah, can we talk about that a little bit? Kind of uh I guess kind of what I just mentioned, like how he talked about how you possibly weren't going to have carry a baby yourself, but somebody else may carry one for you. Can we talk about kind of how that has manifested for you, or maybe how that kind of connected in your actual life for you? Like, holy crap, this is another
yeah,
thing that he pieced together for you. Basically, that's what I'm asking.
yeah. Like during, so I remember like it was like early in the morning too. Like we had like an 8 o'clock session, which I'm not a morning person. So we had a one-on-one like 8 a.m. The same time that Luca's telling me about my vehicle driving slow. During that, he tells me like, you know, I came to you so your body would feel and understand what it was to be pregnant. And that might not be true going forward.
Mm-hmm.
I my purpose could have been that. Could have been just
Mm-hmm.
to come to you to show you what it felt like to be pregnant because that's what you wanted in your life. And that was my purpose. And there is, but like we don't know because we don't know what the future holds, but
Mm-hmm.
from our conversation, Luca's telling me like there's a good chance that you might not be able to do that again. Like your body is not in the best shape as it was at before the pregnancy because I my body did decline because of this pregnancy.
Mm-hmm.
And you might want to start looking at other options. And so then I went on my trip for 2 weeks and I came home and then um, I was supposed to go to the fertility doctor. And all of a sudden now I'm at the fertility doctor and they're telling me pretty much what Luca is telling me that
Mm-hmm.
there's something else happening and my body's not ready. And there's something going on. Now, be prior to that meeting with the vehicle and Luca telling me this, I actually had to get a DNC because there was uh, a leftover part of the placenta from my pregnancy in March, and we're in October, so
Mm-hmm.
um,
Mm-hmm.
that there were some issues already coming up because of that. But just for all of this to merge together to where now Lucas bringing up this ultrasound, which pretty much he already told me was going to happen 3 weeks prior, was just astonishing. Like this spirit, this baby who I only knew for really 6 days in this world, is now telling me, like, Mom, just know that this might not be exactly what you want, but the outcome's going to be the same.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so beautiful. And I love that. That's so beautifully put too, with you saying how you only really knew him for 6 days because, as the medium, I say this all the time. I wish I could plug my brain into your guys' brain and you guys could feel what I feel because every single time I connect with Luca, obviously you carried him. So you have
Yeah.
a special bond with him that nobody else is going to be able to have. But outside of, he just feels like, sorry, another yawn. He just feels he feels incredibly connected to you. Like he literally feels like your guardian angel. He literally feels like you didn't just know him for physically 6 days. Like you
Yeah.
weren't able to just see him for 6 days. And I think that's what's so beautiful. And I think that your story is also actual proof that they are your guardian angels and they are watching over you, even if you didn't get to experience them as much as you should have or would have liked to
Mhm.
in life. And I think that's incredibly beautiful because I think Luca has really shown you I'm not going anywhere. I didn't go anywhere. And I think that's what a lot of us are really looking for when we're trying to connect with our loved ones, and
Yep.
also when we lose them. We just really want to know, like you said at the beginning, where are you? We know you're somewhere. That's what you and Francisco were saying. So that's really awesome. I really, really love that so much. Okay, so what has been the most impactful part of the mediumship experience for you?
I think there's so much, and especially for other folks that have been through a miscarriage or infant loss. I think because at one point we did talk about our second session with my husband and I, um, like, was we asked the question, like, is Luca with anyone else? Because we knew we have lost multiple children either through miscarriage
Mm.
or um, or like Luca, and we wanted to know if they were together, these spirits, because we believe that spirits are not just, when they come and you're in your human form, like they were established long before that. And you told us, like, I can feel like for kids, like, and that would make sense with our miscarriages. And, that and so that validation of like, with those miscarriages, we didn't fully know the gender, the sex. So we asked, like, okay, like, if we still talk to those children, Francisco has set up like a little area for them.
That's
And
so sweet.
so to honor them and honor their life that didn't come to fruition. And I think that really like stands with us is like, yes, we didn't know those children. And we only had Luca for 6 days, but their spirit is still here with us and they're still watching us. And little things will happen in our house, or little things, will occur in our everyday life. And that has made us think of those kids. That's made us think of Luca, or even like my grandma that passed away. Those items really make us think about, oh my goodness, like these people are with us. Those spirits are with us, and that's what really we have taken away. I personally have. Francisco and I have talked about it, of like, previously to mediumship, like we didn't think of these spirits are here with us. And that gives us comfort of they're still here, they're still celebrating when we're celebrating, they're still with us, and they know what's going on. And I can talk to them at any moment during the day when I need comfort.
Yeah. That's beautiful. I love that. I love that so much. I think that's what we're all kind of looking for in general in life is just like comfort and to know, a lot of people think that when you lose your loved ones, they're never around or they you never see them again or they never see you or anything like that. But I always tell people oftentimes they're more involved in your life than they were able to be in before. Like they can literally hear everything, your thoughts, everything, your feelings, they know it all. And so it is very comforting to be able to talk with them and know for sure that you're not just talking to thin air, you're
Yeah.
actually talking to somebody. So that's really awesome.
Mhm.
Um how has your mindset or outlook shifted since getting sessions and connecting with Luca and all of this stuff, all this beauty?
Yeah, I think we went from this stage of hopelessness to a stage of hopefulness, where we are now more hopeful, and we're not in this heavy grief. Like, still, we're grieving. I don't think grief will ever go away. We just adapt better to the grief that we're
Mm,
experiencing. But this has allowed us to get some answers that we were wanting, um, such as like, did Luca know like what we did for him? Did Luca know how much we love him? Did Luca still know how much we love him? How much we talk to him? And it's not just air,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
so that's really like what has helped us is we're now more hopeful, because we know, even though physically we don't have a child waking us up, early hours in the morning, a newborn baby, that we know that he is still with us. And it doesn't change the fact that he's gone, or that we don't have that baby in our hands, but it helps us understand like he's safe, and he doesn't have to experience this cruel world that we live in.
Mm,
um, we would love for him to be here, but how selfish could that be of us, that
mm,
he had another purpose in life?
yeah.
So that really has brought to us since, we didn't have that same mindset prior to. Like we sat there, we blamed God, like, how dare you take our baby away from us?
Mm-hmm.
We questioned God. Is there a God? During one of our sessions, Luka said, there is a God. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't be hateful. Like, you might not understand this, but there is a purpose.
Yeah, that's beautiful, Joanne. I really love that. Thank you so much for sharing that because that is huge. A lot of people gravitate towards that. If you're religious or whatever, God, source, universe, however you define it or
Yeah,
however you connect with it, a lot of people do have that belief, and when people they lose somebody, especially a baby, you can easily go to this, why did you do this, what's wrong with me, did I do something wrong, and then again you start internalizing it. And I can only imagine, being a mother and, Francisco being a father, how much you could have blamed yourself for the loss of your son, and it absolutely was not your guys' fault. And I know I keep saying this, but I really do feel like Luka has really showed, and your story really shows that he did have a different purpose. Of course, I would love for you guys to have baby Luka because I think that him as a baby, also like him here physically, would bring you guys so much joy. I know he would. I can feel how much you guys want to be parents. See, there he is. I can feel how much you guys want to be parents. I can also feel that you guys would be phenomenal parents, and Luka knows that, and I really do. Um, I feel like I've kind of felt this with your journey, but I think you did a really good job at verbalizing that he showed that he had a different purpose for his journey. And
hmm
it's just beautiful. He really is your guardian angel, just looking up and just looking out for you guys, and that's so cool. And I know he's gonna continue to guide you. Even if you never get a session with me again, he's gonna continue to guide you in so many different
yeah,
ways, and that's so special. I love that so much. I really do think about your story, and I think about you a lot and Francisco a lot, and kind of how you guys are going. So I'm so happy that you guys have came over here. It's freaking awesome. Okay, so I also want to ask, what changes or transformations have you noticed in your day-to-day life? Have been feeling lighter, or just kind of how do you feel overall mentally, physically, and emotionally?
I think, since the very first session, which was, I mean, months ago at this point, I think it was in April of 2025, and now we're in December. So,
Yeah.
um, there's been this weight taken off of my shoulders of spiritually and mentally, like, losing anyone in your life is a very emotional process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and when we started understanding like Luca's spirit is around us consistently, that somewhat relieved that pressure and that intense emotion we felt, and especially that I felt. And now for me, like, it's more hopeful, like just lighter in a way
Mm-hmm.
of, I know I can talk to him whenever, and he's there listening to me. And my husband is the same. Like, my husband talks to him every night before he goes to bed because he knows he's there listening. And
Mm.
so, because of that, I think that has just shifted our perspective quite a bit in our life to maybe a more, like, previously it was more negative, and now it's just more positive and hopeful and
Mm.
more of a brighter light than previously when we were just in the middle of everything.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. Have you experienced any like different mental shifts? I know you said that you went from negative to positive, but can you
Mhm.
point at any kind of like phrases that you experience mentally now, or like if you're kind of having a day where you are struggling, right? Because
Mhm.
obviously, you're expressing that you talk to him a lot and it does bring you comfort, but I'm sure there are days that you still have a harder time even though he is gone. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but
Yeah.
if on those days, kind of what are you experiencing, or have those days been easier for you now? Kind of what's the shift there, if that makes sense, from going from this hopelessness to more of a hopeless feeling, or hopeful feeling? Because I think what I like to talk about a lot too, and you've heard me say this, is that mediumship sessions are not there to fix everything, and they're
Mhm.
not going to fix everything. And I think it's important to highlight the good things here as well, and talk about obviously the great shifts and the beautiful transformation you've
Yep.
experienced. But I also want to talk about the struggles, and on your harder days, how has mediumship helped you with that? Or kind of where you are mentally.
Because I think, prior to mediumship, I really did not ground myself a lot. Like, and so this groundedness of, okay, be physically right here in this moment. And it's okay to feel these other emotions that might be more viewed negatively versus more positive experiences.
Mm-hmm.
And I have, so now I make myself like when I'm having a really bad day of, of loss, of just other stresses in life, I, you know, first try to ground myself in this moment. Like, why am I feeling this way?
Mm-hmm.
And then I tell myself, okay, like if it's about Luka and loss, like yes, we lost him. Okay, I acknowledge that portion of it. And then from there, I just slowly start telling myself like, okay, what's the next part of this? And then
Mm-hmm.
until I really get to the root of the problem of
Mm-hmm.
why am I feeling this way today?
Mm-hmm.
And grief will come back and hit you 10 years down the line. It doesn't have to
Mm-hmm.
be the very next day or months after. And that is just comes and goes. And so I really try to ground myself in that feeling of where am I today? Why am I feeling it this way today? And what is it that would make this situation better? And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes that's just acknowledging, Luka, I know you're here with me, or, acknowledging who I need that day, or, help me process this. How can
Mm-hmm.
I get through this? Because that's, I think, very difficult, especially at the beginning, when you think this person is no longer here with us on earth. There's no way for us to communicate. There's no way for us to really interact. And sometimes it probably strange, but sometimes I can feel that presence with me.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just needed that hug today, and it might not be a physical hug, but that spiritual hug is what I needed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that. That's really, really good. I love that so much. Yeah, that is a huge shift going from this place of I know we keep talking about it, but it's a really big deal with this work and experiencing mediumship session, going from, oh my God, they've disappeared to now I know that they're there. And I love
Yeah.
that you're able to have that hug now because you can just sitting here, obviously I've lost people as well, and I know that shift of, holy crap, I'm never going to see them again, and then all of a sudden you know that they're there, and it really does bring so much weight off of your shoulders. And I love that you're able to kind of really reflect and ask yourself, why am I experiencing this right now? Because that really shows that you're more regulated when you are experiencing the grief. You are able to actually process the grief, which I think that again a mediumship session can help you do that, because it helps you have that grounding thought of the, oh, they're still here with me, I don't need to stress
Mhm.
out. And so I think
Yeah.
that was really helpful, and I'm sure people watching this, that will, what you just explained will really help them kind of be able to process, their grief. Even if they haven't had a mediumship session, it still may bring them comfort. So that's really good insight. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us. Um, okay, so kind of wrapping up here. If someone is unsure about booking a session, what would you want them to know? How would you kind of, maybe if you could go back to your old self, maybe, or just anybody, and kind of give them advice, what would you say?
I think for the most part is don't let the fear of the unknown change what is capable. Because obviously you can connect with someone that maybe in this physical world, you know, there's something bad happening.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I really, from my experience and from everything that I've encountered or have watched, I have seen that change when, spirit, I feel like they really are at peace. And maybe they are feeling regret from whatever they did here. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but when there's a connection with them in their spirit, it's not always that same person that you knew. They might have matured, is in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
um,
Absolutely, I
once they
agree.
go into the spirit life. And so don't let what you're unsure of hinder what could be possible for you to learn and for you to heal. And really, I think mediumship for me is more about my personal journey of healing
Mm,
than what the spirit is going to say, or like I want to just be able to connect. And obviously, I think most people, but especially you do say, do you have any questions? Would you like to
mhm,
ask them? And that gives you a point of where you can, ask them that question that you've been needing to heal on your own journey.
mhm.
And I think that's a big deal. Um, and, I would say find someone who you can connect with, who you personally feel okay being vulnerable with, because some of these aspects can make you cry. I think I've cried like probably on every single one of my sessions with you, um, just because of the things that were brought up. And sometimes I wasn't personally ready for some of those aspects, and I'm still not personally ready for some of them that have been brought up. But I know that through time and just grounding myself and thinking about those topics, I will be able to get through them. And I would have never been able to without that connection and that other point of view as to what mediumship has brought to me.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's very cool, Joanne. A couple points there. Yeah, that's awesome. I never thought about I guess I mean obviously I do think about how spirits are going to bring up vulnerable things. I know that and that's what I always talk about, but I never really thought about how maybe you were experiencing some things that came up in the sessions that you weren't quite ready for. And I never thought about kind of how that can help you for the future. So that's a really good point. I love that you brought that up. And I love that it does kind of give you like a heads up and something to look forward to or something to look out for. So that can be really helpful. There was something else there that you said that I lost, but I will get back to it. But I love that perspective. That's amazing. Um, and I think, getting a session when you are ready for it, like we talked about earlier, is very,
Yeah,
very, very important because it does bring up a lot of feelings. But I think it is important to also acknowledge oh yeah, the personal journey. Excuse me, I was trying to find my thought. So you mentioned the personal journey, how it's been more of like a personal healing experience for you, and I think that's a really big point because I think a lot of people do, especially when they're in their guilt, they're worried that their loved ones are mad at them, right? So I think some
yeah,
people get mediumship sessions to kind of not, how do I explain this, they want to reassure their loved one. They want to
yeah.
connect their, make sure their loved one's okay, right? But your loved ones are 99% of the time they are okay, and I think it's beautiful to want to connect with them. But I think that's a beautiful point that you brought up because they are the mediumship sessions really are personal, and they really do give you a softer pillow to lay on essentially while you're going through the grieving journey. So that's really beautiful. I love that, and I love that it's helped you so much on your personal journey, and I love that you use the sessions to your advantage too, to be able to ask them questions and all of that stuff. I think that's really beautiful. Everybody gets a session for different reasons and everybody experiences something different, but I think that's a beautiful, beautiful perspective. I love that. um okay, so the last question here is, did the sessions give you a sense of peace, clarity, or confidence about anything you were struggling with? Which you kind of have talked about it, but yeah, if there's
Yeah,
anything else that you want to say there, I'd love to hear.
definitely. And I would say even more than asking the question in the actual session, I ask questions before I even come. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
I know you can hear me.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about this? Give me some type of direction.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Even if that's really directly, or if that is just, you know, it's tucked in there something with something else. Like, but let me know, you know, in this situation. And typically, when you ask me in the session, do you have any questions? I say no, because at the end of the day, they've already answered all of them, right? They
Yeah.
already knew what I was going to ask.
Yeah.
They brought up those topics, sometimes indirectly, but for the most part, they've hit it head on.
Yeah.
So it's just amazing. Like, I would say definitely come prepared for the session. Know if you do have a question, but at the end of the day, like, your spirit already knows you. They already know what you need to hear. They
Mm-hmm.
already know that you're planning on coming to this. They're preparing for it themselves. And, in the session, I would just be willing to listen to whatever. comes through, even if it doesn't fully make sense right away, it will make sense later on.
I love that. Yeah. Thank you for saying that too, because as a medium, I can sit there and tell you all day to listen to your loved ones. And I know people hear that. They do listen to that. But I think, coming from somebody who has had a session and is saying, listen to what they have to say, I think that's very, very helpful because I think a lot of the time people get really nervous because it's almost like a first date. It's like his first date and you get really nervous and you're just like, oh my God, I got to make a good impression. Like I've had sessions with people who they literally, they're spraying their favorite perfumes and they're
Yeah.
getting all dressed up right before, right? Which I think is super cute. I love that. But they feel like it is like this first date. And I think it's important to remind people to just relax a little bit and like you said, trust that they know you and they know exactly what you need to hear and giving you the guidance. So that's super cool. I love that. Thank you for mentioning that. That's beautiful. Um, Okay, yeah. Did you the sessions give you a sense of peace, clarity, or confidence about anything you were struggling with? You kind of talked about
Yeah.
this, but
I
I'd love to
definitely
hear.
think there's like this piece of like they are around you and that they know what is to come. Potentially, I mean, they're not fortune tellers, right? But
Yeah.
they can give you little things of encouragement. And then also I think that just this for me personally, it brings me this sense of calmness of okay, like I can ground myself in knowing that my son is still here with me
Mm-hmm.
spiritually and he is my guardian angel. Like he will be leading me. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I can trust in that. And being able to believe in something, I think really helps us connect more as humans and especially something more spiritually. And
Absolutely.
so I think honestly, like my spiritual journey has shifted since becoming more involved with mediumship and but at the end of the day I think ultimately mediumship helps you really identify those core areas in your life where
Mm.
you want to know more about yourself and these spirits help you with that.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that, Joanne. Yes, I'm so happy to be doing these with you guys because I love, you guys leave written testimonials. You left me a couple of written testimonials and I freaking love it. But being able to hear your voices and hear your perspectives and, all of this is really beautiful. So thank you so much for sitting down with me today and doing this because I'm so happy about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is, what was it? I'm sorry, what did you just say? My brain just lost what you just said. You said something really beautiful.
um
It's okay if you don't
I don't
remember.
know, you're gonna have to go back and watch the video.
I will have to go back and watch it when I I'm keeping all this in here by the way. Because this is just real. This is just Jerica forgets. But
I forget too,
yeah,
so
that's
I
okay.
know I was talking about just that connection and being able to they're able to guide you
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They're able to guide you. Yes. And dang it.
and calm you and
We'll find it. It's okay, Fred. It's
yeah.
okay. It'll come back to me because it was a really good point. That's okay. I can't stay too stuck on it. But anyway, I think it is beautiful how much the sessions have helped you along your journey. And I think it's beautiful that you are sharing your story. And I really think your story is going to bring a lot of other women and parents, of course, too, men, of course, too, right? The husbands, husbands are very important, dads are very important. But I think a lot of women, a lot of women go through miscarriages or IVF or, they've unfortunately lost many babies. And so, you start to, I'm sure, lose hope and feel all
Yeah.
kinds of things about yourself. And so I think that knowing that Luka is there with you too also gives you space to not put so much pressure on yourself and not be mean to yourself
Right.
because like I said, I do feel like if and when you become a mom, like a mom, and you have your baby here on earth, I know you're going to be a great mom. But I think it's so cool that he's there with you. I can't get over it. I really do think about your session a lot, all your sessions a lot. I think it's beautiful.
Oh, that's one thing I wanted to say. Just
Yes. Yeah,
it's
of
not
course.
really a part of your question, but I like I know some people are like, well, Jarek, like if I book multiple sessions with Jerica, like she's just gonna remember what she told me last time. But I
Mm,
want to say that's not true.
mm-hmm.
Okay, so for those who are skeptical, maybe you've had one session, Every single session I've had with Jerica, like definitely I've had different experiences in each one. And like 99% of the time, none of the same information comes back. So every time it's something new, some other verification, more current in that time frame of the session, and I truly appreciate that. Um,
Yeah.
and I don't want someone to say, "Oh, I already had one session. What else could I get from it?" Definitely, I obviously I think there's value in multiple sessions, and I truly appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful. I love that so much. Thank you for saying that because I think that is a big thing. I think a lot of people get worried about that for sure. But most of the time I also don't forget. Like I know of or I don't remember. I know I've been a part of your journey and I remember like the big things. I remember we
Yeah,
connected with Luka, but like there's little finite stuff that I do not
yeah,
remember at all. And that's just a part of it. So that is a really big point. Thank you so much for bringing that up. And I remembered what we were talking about that really stuck out to me. What you said is you talked about how mediumship has allowed you to open up your spiritual journey
yeah.
essentially and like help you understand deeper parts of yourself. And I think that is a
Mhm.
part that is not talked about enough in mediumship because yes, you're connecting with your loved ones, which is like the main, like that's where people kind of start with, right? That's like the main reason why people start is like I'm grieving, I want to connect with my loved one, I want to know they're there. But it really does open up so many doors for you, especially if you do get multiple sessions and you do let your loved ones lead you because that is what they're there for. And that goes back to kind of what you just said about how it's okay to get multiple sessions essentially because they're
Yeah.
leading you along your journey, not talking about just the past all the time either, or just other things. And that's super super important, is that um I think I do my best to try to describe that with this work, how it's going to open up doors for you. But I think the way that you said it was really beautifully put because it does open up other doors. It allows you to reflect and look at yourself and ask yourself, who am I? And also, I've
Yeah.
also read for a lot of people who were angry at God or angry at universe, also completely skeptical, would have never, done this type of stuff before. And it completely shakes up your world, but in a beautiful way. And so, just one more question along with that. I wanted to ask if it's been like too intense for you at any point, because that's another thing. I feel like I could ask you a million questions, but um, has it been too intense for you at any point throughout this journey as you've been opening up more doors for yourself?
I think that the information that is discussed in the session has not been too much for me personally. I do think that if you are someone who, you know, needs time to process information, uh, and sometimes like that's how my husband is. He needs a few days to process.
Mm-hmm.
So, that you should give yourself that time because
Mm-hmm.
there is so much information that even like a little thing, like for in one of our sessions, I think it's the same session about the car, um, is Luca talked about not wearing so much perfume, and you could tell me it was Marc Jacob perfume, like, and that is what I have. So, like, even just little things like that, like, you just need to have some time to be able to process. So it's never too much for me, but do I need the time, and could I see where other people might need more time to process? I do. And
Absolutely.
allowing yourself and giving yourself that time, not just jumping, oh, I had my reading and then not going back and processing it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that could cause some issues later on, but definitely allowing yourself that time.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you for saying that because that is a very key point, is definitely giving yourself time to process. Because the example that you just said with the Marc Jacobs, um, because again, it's not just, oh, my loved one validated that I have Marc Jacobs. It's, oh, shit, my loved one's actually there. Like,
Yeah.
what? And that just like rattles your brain a little bit. And so I think that's very beautifully put about if you need more time to process, definitely give yourself some time to process. Because it just hits you, but it's beautiful at the same time. So I love that so much, Joanne. Oh my God, this has been an amazing, amazing interview. Thank you so much for sitting here with me today, and spending some time and sharing your story. I'm very excited to share it with the world and for others to watch it as well. I wanted to check and see if there's anything else you wanted to say or anything you wanted to kind of go over or talk about before we hop off here today.
Well, I just wanted to tell you thank you because even more than the sessions, I think just talking about the sessions and remembering really helps me ground myself more and remember the stuff that was said. So I want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity to do so, because
Oh,
that's amazing for me.
of course. Yes, of course, friend. I appreciate you so much. I have had such an amazing time today, and I look forward to another session with you whenever
Yeah,
that happens.
yeah,
Um,
maybe with my mom. I'm thinking about doing that for her birthday, so I'll
yeah.
be with her. So I'll have to check your dates in 2026.
Okay. Yes, I would love that. I would love to meet your mom. I love that so much. Yes, bring your family members. I love meeting the family members. That's so cool. Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, thank you so much, Joanne. I really appreciate you. Tell Francisco I said hi and
I
hope
will.
he's doing good and taking care of himself too.